Joining me now, foreign editor at The Australian, Greg Sheridan. Well, hindsight's a wonderful thing. We can't go back and remake the days after October 7. But Anthony Albanese could well have done that on Sunday night, Greg. And I think Australians, we saw a little bit of him there and we saw a little bit of him laying flowers the next day. But he has basically been absent from the national stage since that time. I don't think he's up to it. I think there's no anger, there's no emotion, there's nothing in his response that even gives us a semblance of understanding that he has got it. What do you think?
Well, Peter, it's good to be with you in a very sombre moment in Australian life. Excuse me. I think the Albanese government is responsible for not dealing with the crisis of anti-Semitism. They are 100% morally responsible for allowing the atmosphere to develop in Australia of hatred of Jews. The Albanese government has done some things to work against the hatred of Jews, but it's done many things which have exacerbated the hatred of Jews in the way that it has radically and wildly demonised Israel and changed long-standing Australian positions. It has, in effect, though not intentionally, demonised Jews. At no point has it understood what not only the Jewish community but many, many commentators and Australian scholars and analysts have pointed out to it, that there is a deep Australian crisis of anti-Semitism, which is part of a deep global crisis of anti-Semitism. Instead, you've got from the Albanese government what you always get, misdirection and PR stunts. So you have a crisis of anti-Semitism. For the first time, the Prime Minister calls a National Cabinet, which he always refused to do on this subject before, and he doesn't even mention Gillian Siegel's report, and his only agenda item is gun control and intelligence sharing. I mean, this country has coped with growing anti-Semitism by funding the Jewish community to build concrete bomb shelters. That's our only response as a nation to this cancer of anti-Semitism. I thought Josh Frydenberg spoke very powerfully today. I wish we had Josh in Parliament. This country is suffering a tremendous deficit of leadership, and nothing that the Albanese government has done since the Bondi massacre has given any indication that even yet it understands the gravity of the crisis we as a nation are facing.
I think that's my biggest concern, Greg, you know, that after the events of Sunday, we haven't seen any signal that this government will change. We haven't seen any sense, as I said just a moment ago, that the Prime Minister gets it, that he gets the severity and the danger, and I think a real crossroads that this country is at. And I am worried, given not just the strength of his mandate inside the Parliament, the number of seats he has, how far away from the game the opposition is, but also he's got 2 and a bit years to run his term. And if we don't arrest this cancer and rip it out now, what are we going to look like in another 2 years' time? Because look where we have come now in 2 years since October 7. God help us about where we will be in another 2 years' time.
Well, that's absolutely right, Peter. So the Prime Minister was right to say anti-Semitism has a long history and it long predates his prime ministership. But it has clearly been getting worse, and he has not taken effective action on it, as with so many things. Our defence policy, come back in another 20 years and he might have something to show you. The problem for the Prime Minister is this. Everybody says they're against anti-Semitism. Indeed, quite a lot of Islamists say they're against anti-Semitism. It's an easy statement to make in general. But where does anti-Semitism brew in our society? It brews in universities, it brews in radical preachers at mosques, it brews in these hateful demonstrations every week with their loaded anti-Semitic slogans and terrorist symbols. Now, to take action in any of those 3 fields, to try to reform a university, to try to limit or expel or charge a hate preacher, to try to change the way these demonstrations go, means you will meet resistance. You will have trouble. You'll have institutional resistance from the forces of anti-Semitism in Australia. Now, the Albanese government is not only an incompetent government, it is a cowardly government. and it is not willing to take any of those institutional steps because it is not willing to shed one drop of political capital on behalf of the Jewish community. It'll make kumbaya statements. It looks bewildered about how its own inaction and foolish concessions to anti-Semitic forces on the left have contributed to this disaster. And it is just not willing to take any meaningful action. And you can't change a crisis like this just with a kumbaya press release and a bit of tightened gun control. I mean, I agree with you completely. I'm a conservative, not a libertarian. I'm happy to have more gun control, and I'm happy to have certain limits on free speech. I used to wonder whether it was right to outlaw Nazism in Western Europe. I now strongly support that. But of course, Jews are not being killed by Nazis in our society. They're being harassed by forces on the far left and in the tradition of Islamist anti-Semitism. And this government has done nothing effective about it.
Greg, I'll make the point just as we go. The Prime Minister has not said anything about Islamist terrorism. He's not dared speak those words. There's been more mentions about far-right extremists this week from the government than there has about the scourge that allegedly drove these men to do what they did. I'll leave it there. Greg Sheridan, thank you.